parents would joke how much I ate, even claiming I drank my milk from the big bottle they fill with kids' gifts for baby showers. It was their mutual running joke about me. Hardin can eat. Even writing that sentence breaks my heart because when I looked at childhood me and the pressure she had to have a thinner body, I'm devastated. Now losing weight is an odyssey, but as a kid, I truly was fine and would give anything to have back that shapely figure again. I was called fat even when I was not, and the problem is to my family, fat was ugly. When I look at how my family has treated my body and my features, they were clear. I was ugly to them. My mother at least would say I had a pretty face when with makeup and that my personality was good enough. The sad part is those are really great compliments, but have historically been given to the ugly girl you liked. Oh yeah, she's funny. Lately, my self-loathing for my body has been going up because I gained 5 pounds rather than losing 90. Having visited my mother, she looked at me eating and said, you're eating more now. I was gutted by how instantly I grew a double conscious, and since then have been carrying my body like a killer carrying a dead one. As I lay in my bed writing this post, I cry. Not because I'm ugly again as much as I hate that I've never felt pretty. Well, once I did. In high school, I went on the Beyonce diet. 3 months of cayenne pepper, lemon juice, and water for every meal, of which dinner was the only one I could have and technically eat. My mother had never been so proud of me, and if I could have lived my entire life on that diet, I would have, just to feel how nice she became when she finally had a thin daughter. She admired my dedication, and having a girlier girl was her dream. After all, there's a reason they call it a girlish figure. Clothes are made for it. And she was bright-eyed at the chance of doing her favorite thing, retail therapy, with someone that could actually fit the retail. When you are deemed heavier, your clothes can look it, as if a curly girl does not want to hug her hips. Compared to my mother, I was big boobs, big butt, and 6 feet tall, and a lot of that was by age 7. My whole life I was bigger than most kids, and even my family, in height and weight, and really only had 2 growth spurts. Yet in my mother's head, I could be so much smaller if my mouth was so much more closed. All right, let's heal. Let's discuss. So, all my family was very clear that they thought I was the ugly one. And my mother kind of did this weird thing of I'm going to give you grace by saying, yeah, you're ugly, but like when you wear makeup and you do your hair, and you wear the things I tell you to wear, you look better. Like it's almost like when I look back on my childhood, how much I needed genuine emotional stability and connection compared to all the critiques and the humor. There was a lot of good jokes, but a lot of it was bullying too. And it was usually at my expense. And I didn't have anyone to defend me because my mother would join in. And I think I gave her a lot of grace in thinking she gave me grace, because if a whole room is calling you fat and ugly and someone says, well, she's fat but she can lose weight and she's ugly but she can make adjustments, you kind of think, well, clearly this person is on my side. They understand proper dieting. And months ago, before we went no contact, she came and she visited, and it was just hell on earth. And she just kept on talking about how I was eating more, and I ate more than a fist, because I had told her, I went to this nutritionist that said you never eat more than your fist, and that I never lived that down. That became eternal. Every time we ate, she looked to see if I was eating more, and at the time, I didn't realize how detrimental my mother was to my happiness and my growth as a human being. Because so much of her critiquing, she would gaslight me into believing it was care. But when you're always saying that someone is wrong and doing bad and not being enough even for themselves, yet you make them your resolution for even your smallest issues, it's this weird kind of hypocrisy and cruelty that I didn't pick up, in part because it was my mother and it was also my life. Like, when you become an adult you do realize more just how heavily your family trained you in defining happiness and defining healing or defining hurt and defining sadness, like, and the past few years have been me kind of, I don't feel like I'm me. I don't feel like I'm happy. I don't feel like I'm prospering. And I always knew that my family sabotaged me and didn't exactly do their best by me. But I think, like a lot of people, you think nobody's perfect, A, and B, there's traumas and people are really trying their best. But when their best, even their best, always screws you and even seeks to do so, you do have to pick that up and you do have to say, okay, wait a minute. You either change this or I change me and leave. And I think the past few years has been me realizing that about my mother. And that was extremely, extremely painful because when I look at, a lot of my choices, you know, it's this weird kind of subconscious thing where it's like, I don't mind being called fat every day by my mom if I get to have a mom. I don't mind being called stupid and bad with money all the time if I get to keep my mom. But yet, the problem was, even when I wasn't with her, I either A, found people that would tell me the very things that she would say, or B, I would repeat it to myself and land myself in situations where I did eat badly, where I did overspend. And it was this moment of like, if you do hang out with negative energy, particularly negative energy directed at you, it's gonna affect you. It's gonna affect your self image. It's gonna affect how you act upon yourself. And I think a lot of my family members were very proud about how they handled the toxicity of our family while staying in it. Even if the only thing they did was visit during holidays, they were just so proud that they kept the link. And I feel like I was judged more because I couldn't. Like, it did affect me. Call me stupid every day, I will cry every day. And there was this moment where I was looking at my childhood pictures at a time where, obviously, in living with my parents and living with my family, this was peak consistent, you are fat, you are ugly. And I'm like, no, I wasn't. Like, it didn't even have to be brought up. Give this young baby girl oxygen. And I realized that in every era of my life, I have always treated me harshly. I have never given me enough grace. And I got really, really, really sad by that because it's almost like the next day I called myself ugly again and I was like, oh, I almost want to call myself pretty out of rebellion. And I said this before on the podcast. What bothered me about always being called fat and ugly was not that, whether it was quite literal, it was that fat and ugly in my family, and I have found in a lot of moments of my life in this world, you might as well be dead. You won't be promoted if they deem you ugly. Like, it is harder. They won't hold the door for you if you are fat. They won't help you up. They'll be like, you should be on a diet. You should run. Like, people feel they have the right to judge you on your looks and in turn cut opportunities or at the very least the kindness they could show you. And as somebody that always that always sought kindness because I'm kind, but also is ambitious, so always sought opportunities, I felt frustrated by how my weight and my looks or how people deemed me outside of me stopped me from just having genuine good conversations and getting promoted as the smart one, as the creative one. It's almost like everything of me was tolerated or was supposed to be a given because aesthetically I wasn't approved. And that has made dating for me incredibly exhausting because a lot of male privilege, as is in privilege in general, is this kind of idea that I can scope you out. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to, give you a few questions to see if you impress me. And I've always approached life as like, let's just see if we click. I'm not trying to do a tap dance for you, and I don't want you to tap dance for me. And I felt in being deemed fat and ugly, I had to tap dance just out of survival. And this year in particular, rather 2025, was this year of kind of like, there's something incredibly sad to living, let's say, a fair 90% of your life not loving you, or kind of thinking you shouldn't love you that much because there's a lot of things to change, especially for others. And I just don't want that anymore. I just don't. So check out deandrewreesall.com for daddy recovery articles. Check out Hardin, Hardi, accented I, N, Hardin at all music platforms. And, follow Daddy Recovery on TikTok. God love you. On YouTube.